Welcome to class summit. So the top that we're about to illustrate looks like a jacket, but it's not a jacket. We have a false button in front of it. So here I have my pattern from shoulder to armhole depth, shoulder bust line, waistline, and the length of the jacket or the top that we want to illustrate or where we want it to stop. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, this is an asymmetric neckline. I'm going to open this up and mark out my asymmetric neckline design. So I'm going to go in from this shoulder point by 0.25. You can do half an inch. Okay, so I'm going to now from this point bring it down to how much depth I want for the neckline. So I'm using 3 inches for a small paper. On actual paper we could do up to 6 inches. So I'm going to rule it this way on a straight line. Okay, now the same thing I did on this part, I'm going to go in by 0.25 as well. Now I'm going to connect from here to this point to form the asymmetric neckline. So this is what I'm going to have. If you think it is high, you can decide to bring it down more, but I'm going to leave it here. So this is what we have. Now from this point, this is where our button is going to be starting. Now if you want to turn this into a jacket, all you have to do is to connect it on an asymmetric line and cut it out. You can actually turn it into a jacket. And if you want, you can just leave it this way and place your button the way you want it to be. I'm just going to rule a line from this point of the neckline towards the waistline, a little bit below the waistline. This is where to connect the button. Now for the opening, we're going to open it. You can decide to keep the opening one-sided or take the opening down to this middle point and have it centralized. So let's do the, so I'm going to keep it towards the center of the waistline this way. I don't want it to shift so much. Okay, so from here now, we're going, this is the waistline, we'll come down a bit by 2 inches on actual measurement. So from here, we're going to have our slant. So this is what I have here. I'll complete this marking towards the end of the jacket. Now from these 2 inches that I marked here, this is where I'm going to equally slant it out this other way. So I'm going to cut like so, meet this point and cut away this part. So we have the opening that we have in front. If you want it to have centralized cutting, you can as well start from this point and cut it out, however you choose to do it. Okay, so this is what we have. Now over to cutting the neckline. Now you can place your first buttons this way. Okay, it will give you the jacket illusion design. Now if you want it to be an actual jacket, all you have to do is to cut it out, which I'm going to do, cut it out and insert a placket which will be used to cover it. So to turn to a jacket, I'm going to cut it open to this point, and then I'm going to insert this as an extension of the placket to cover to be. So this placket is going to be the length of from this point to this point, from this point, from here to here. I'm going to extend it on this part because it will be the one that will overlap this part. And you can also decide to add it to the two of them, but I'm going to be adding only to this other part. So it is either it is like this, a top without an opening and with a false button this way, or it is a jacket with an extended placket which will cover the button when it is fixed this way. So insert, we place our buttons here. We'll place our buttonhole here while the button is under. So whichever one you choose is okay. Now we're going to transfer that to make it into an armhole princess dart. So what I'm going to do is to connect from the armhole to the bust point, and I'm going to close this bust dart and transfer it into the armhole. So I'll cut here open to the bust point, and then I'll close the bust dart so we can sew it through the bust armhole. So this is what we have. that will tape this down. So we're now going to close this to form our armhole dart. So while sewing, you can see the way I've closed it. While sewing, this is how we're going to sew it down to this point where the dart stops. And also sew this point down to where the dart stops. If you want to keep it open downwards, that is fine. So tell me, which method do you like most? Is it the jacket type that you place and open it so that you will not have button, you will not have zipper at the back? You place your button on the front and actually open it up, or is it the part where it is looking like a normal blouse and you don't have to open it while you still have your button in front? So tell me, which one do you prefer? Which would you like to try out?